Hello and welcome to another episode of the Under the Pines podcast. I'm your host, Max Emanuel. Today's episode is a bit different and unusual since it is solely focused on the topic of diabetes, basically, right? So Donna Cross is the guest. She tells her story of how she worked through the issue and basically lost almost 200 pounds and changed her lifestyle, and is now a Reiki practitioner. So if you are interested in the topic of diabetes and how to work through it in a more natural way than just swallowing those pills, feel free to tune in. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel yet, please do. It will help a lot. And thank you for that. I'll see you in the next one. So hello, Donna. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we've, basically come in touch over the socials, and I found your story quite interesting. You've basically had an interesting childhood, right? Which then later led you to have diabetes, and you kind of fought through it. And maybe this is a good, platform to talk about this, because I think there's plenty of people that have that problem, and they're all stuck in some sense, right, with the medication, and they always think it's a loop rather than a journey, right? Because they are told it's a never-ending thing, right? And you are a good example of, the alternative route and where it can take you, right? And maybe just maybe start in your youth, because I think it's an interesting basis for the understanding of why you ended up in that situation in your adult life, right?
Yes, childhood trauma of any kind, if not properly dealt with, can turn to physical illness. That's how I feel.
Sure.
And in my situation, I definitely feel that. So, real quick, my dad left it when I was 1, and I had 4 siblings ahead of me. I was the youngest out of 10. And my mother, told me that I was, they had me to try to save the marriage, but when the marriage failed, that they blamed me. So I had that. And around through therapy, we kind of figured out that around the age of 3 years old, which is sort of where you start anywhere from the ages of like 2 to 8, you start to get your sense of where you are in the world, how you fit in, what is your relationship with food? When you're a baby, you eat for nourishment, that's kind of automatic. But then when you start around that age, then you can start, things can happen, trauma or whatever, that you can start to get that skewed. And it was for me, because since my siblings were much older than me, I was constantly lonely. And my mother was she worked full-time. So I was with babysitters and all that stuff. So I definitely went to food as anything but nourishment. So it was like entertainment, friend, it was anything. Hit a dopamine center, gave me happiness, so I went with it. But along with that, I was much taller than the kids around, and this is back, so I'm 57, so this was around in the early 70s. I was much taller than everybody, and because of the eating disorder, I got obese quickly, so I was bullied incessantly from day one. So, there was my major depression that kicked in, and my anxiety disorder kicked in. So, like I said, around the age of 3, 4 years old, that's where they all kind of started. And throughout my life, I was a product of the 80s, where you had to be thin or you didn't exist. And, my eating habits became even more skewed, where I would binge and starve. And my weight would yo-yo. I got very thin, then I would gain it all back and get very thin. And, and it was never for the right reasons. It was only to fit in, only to get the boyfriend, only to, that type of thing. Or also to get kind of like acceptance from Mom, who would always, she would only give me love if I looked good. If I didn't, she was actually quite nasty. So there is abuse there. She got remarried when I was 10 to a very abusive man too. So I had that going for me as well. So tried therapy, your normal therapy, and it helped, but it didn't really get to the root cause of things. So I had my kids, I had gestational diabetes with both pregnancies. I actually also have type 1 diabetes in my family, so I was pretty much had it was the perfect storm for me. My highest weight was 339 pounds, and that was during my first pregnancy. And then, I had my children. Luckily they were healthy and everything, but and I got my weight down into the 200s, and that was kind of natural from just being more active with the kids. But and breastfeeding and all of that, but still, I still had those compulsive eating issues, and they did get worse and worse. So quickly, so in 2018, the day after Easter, I was at work, and I got very sick, and I excused myself, and lo and behold, I'm bleeding from the rectum profusely. I'm like, well, I'm in trouble. I don't know what's going on here. So I went to the closest convenient MD, because I would never go to doctors because I didn't want to wait. So they immediately thought, well, you must have some sort of a bladder infection. Let's go check. Let's take a urine test. I said, okay, but I started being like, And they came back and said, yep, you're dumping sugar in your urine. So let's check your blood sugar. And my heart sunk, because I was like, I know what's happening now. And that's when they said it was 510. And I hadn't eaten for a few hours, so this should be fasting, and it should be around 100. And they're like, well, you're close to coma, let's get you to the ER. So, and mind you, I did have the symptoms of type 2 for about a year prior, but I denied it. So I had the thirst and the incontinence and the blurred vision. I had all of those symptoms, but I denied it. So, yeah, so in the ER, they checked my A1C, and that was 12.3, and a non-diabetic's A1C, it should be 5.7 and lower. So, yeah, like you're in trouble. They were afraid of stroke. But they checked everything out, and it was fine. And I said, well, you got type 2. Here's some metformin, go see your doctor. Bye. Literally like that. So I went to see him the next day, and I have to say, and this could be the exception to the norm, but I really thought that my doctor would say to me, well, you need to go on this med, this med, this med, this med, and this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. But he actually said to me, our goal right now is to get this weight off and to get you off the meds. When I heard that, I was like, really? There's hope? Honestly? Like, really? Like, I didn't even think that. And to get it from my doctor, I was shocked. So, he got me in touch with a nutritionist, and she was very kind. And it really was the first time I ever really talked about my issues. But we talked about the focus of carbohydrates and and diabetes, and how it's really important to test your blood sugar 6 times a day. So I did, and I started finding out when you test your blood sugar 6 times a day and you log it down, you actually can start seeing patterns of what foods are affecting you. Some won't, some will. And for me, it turned out that grain of any kind caused my blood sugar to just skyrocket. So it didn't matter whether it was whole grain, white grain, didn't matter. It was just shot right up. So I got rid of it. Just got rid of all grain. And then also I noticed that if I ate something processed, like in a box, like a cracker or something, or a cookie or anything processed with sugar in it, skyrocket. I couldn't handle it anymore. So I got rid of all processed sugars, anything in a box, grain.
That's all sugar anyways.
It is, right. Exactly. So I got rid of it. Went cold turkey, and I just started walking 7 days a week. I never took a rest day. I just started walking every day. Lo and behold, 11 months, my A1C was down to 5.4. In total, I've lost 192 pounds. I didn't do that in the 11 months. It took a little while still, but this is my grand total. But that was natural. They took me off all meds, including the ones for my mental health. And I stayed, so this has been 6 years, and I, to this day, hover around 5 for my A1C. And I'm still on this lifestyle, and so I'm very blessed. But unfortunately, I've come also to realize that medications can be a double-edged sword, because I believe metformin, which is what I was on, is great for crisis. It gets you over the hump, especially if your A1C is super high, and gets you out of the danger zone. But it has a lot of side effects, and can be very taxing to your kidneys and your liver. So it really should be short term. And so when I got off of it, I was left with a present of irritable bowel syndrome, and it was pretty severe. And it was to the point where I needed to know where a bathroom was at all times. It would let go at any minute. It didn't matter. I was in public, gone. It was brutal. Scary, brutal, embarrassing. It was awful. Happened during my daughter's graduation. Yeah, it was just awful. I'm like, well, I can't handle this. This is a new. So I heal one thing, and then you get something else. I'm like, well, how are you gonna handle this? All right. So I'm like, am I gonna go back on drugs? No. What am I gonna do? So I'm like, there's got to be some type of a healing, some type of a holistic method, something I can do naturally, because I don't want to go back on meds. And my brother is a Reiki practitioner, and he told me about how it helped him, greatly, with his hand. He's a classical guitarist, and he had horrible carpal tunnel. He had surgery. Nothing helped. Reiki helped it. I'm like, well, that sounds good enough to me. I'm going to give it a try. So instead of going to a Reiki practitioner, I actually got attuned to it. I became a level 1 Reiki practitioner. So level 1 is for yourself. And 4 months. 4 months of self-Reiki every single day got my symptoms down 95%. I'm like, well, that's incredible. And I was hooked. So now,
which kind of shows that which shows there was a lot of emotional stuff, basically, right? Because the diabetes was just the symptom showing, right? And with the Reiki, you moved some emotional stuff, some baggage, and then, right, it got better. Because if you would have gotten that bowel syndrome, and intact, and maybe, into a state where you could live your normal life, then something else would have shown up. So.
You are so right. Yeah. You are so right. Yeah. So it definitely needed to come. It was definitely needed to come to my life somehow, and Reiki finds you. So yeah, it did. You were right. It does open you up, and it moves the energy around, and it brings up some emotions and clears. And the more you do it, of course, it opens yourself up to other healing modalities that you could bring into your life. So it's just really been a godsend. And so now I'm a Reiki master, and love it. and I'm now going to be working in hospice at a nursing home, and I picked up some mediumship ability, so it's pretty cool. It's really been an amazing journey. But that's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, why do you think it because it basically took you 50 years, right, to do something, and you only really took, that situation, right, like seriously when it was very serious, right?
Yeah.
You ignored all the little hints and pushes and, hey, Donna, you're going the wrong way here.
Yeah.
It's like, I've talked about this on plenty of other podcasts because it's interesting, right? It doesn't matter what it is. We always, in most cases, we only change if it's really, last minute.
Yep. You are right. So yeah, it was interesting because, so I was, 51, just turned 51. And like I said, it was a day after Easter. And what's interesting is Easter, so the day before I had eaten, it was very interesting. I had eaten a whole box of sugar cookies. And when I mean a box, like it was like that. And my husband never said a word until that day. And he went, "You ate all that?" And I was like, "Ooh." I mean, just that was like, wow, okay, what am I doing? And then the next day, bam. And that was interesting. And so when I came, and then that night when I came home from the hospital, both my kids were there. So my daughter was at the time 18, and a 16-year-old son, and she was going to be graduating in 2 months from high school and starting college. And my son was going to start college in a couple of years. And I immediately thought about my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. He lost both his legs to type 1. And this is back in early 1970s. And it was very rare for an older man to get type 1 back then. Usually it was always back then, I mean, it's been changing now, but back then it was very rare. And he lost both of his legs. His daughter was 9 and died from type 1, from osteomyelitis, because they just didn't have insulin. Back then, that was in the 30s. And so I immediately started thinking of them. And I'm like, boy, I have 2 kids. I'm young, very young, and I want to live. I mean, it's going to be great. But I don't want to die. I don't want to lose my legs. I don't want to lose my eyesight. I want to live and see these kids grow up, get married, have kids, get degrees, get a house. I want to see all their little milestones. I don't want to die. I knew it. Bam. I don't want to die. That's what did it for me. And I'm like, I'm going to fight this. This is not welcome. No. For me, fear was a motivator. It was complete fear. I will admit that. Complete fear.
Yeah, but it was enough to say, okay, the addiction has to stop, right? Like, because you always talk about the diabetes, but in hindsight, it's an addiction to food, right?
Yes.
Cause it. So that was the moment where you said, okay, no more cookies.
No more. Right.
It was not. I'm going to fight the diabetes. It was, I'm going to stop eating that crap.
Yep. And I think at that moment, I was just thinking diabetes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking in that moment, I'm going to kill them and fight this. But you're right. In hindsight, it's the addiction. It's the carb addiction. It's the sugar addiction, which is sugar addiction. Is probably stronger, they say, as strong as nicotine addiction. Heroin addiction, it's up there.
Yeah, it's a nasty one because it's just everywhere, right? Like it's in everything and on all corners and always available, and that's why it's so difficult.
And it's acceptable. And the media, it's like, hey, have some Cheerios, it's fortified with vitamins, and blah, 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 and all this stuff, but meanwhile it's killing you. And, Pop-Tarts, vitamins, oh really? Okay, well you buy into it, but yeah, it's an addiction that's very sneaky. Because it's not like a drug addiction where and the other part is, not like a drug addiction where you don't need it to live. See, you need food to live. And so, that's where it gets very sneaky and manipulative. And boy, they know how to do it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, every addiction is nasty.
There is,
in ways, right?
Like yeah.
Everyone, like if it's gaming, or playing on the slot machines, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Everything has its own kind of low life itself, right? Like it's just it takes you in and it swallows you, right? And just like you always thought about the diabetes, but you weren't thinking about that, right? It's the same thing with any other addiction. Like your focus is on something else, right? Like it's not on that, right? Unless it's something heavy like heroin, right? Because then it's only about that if you don't have it, right?
That's right.
But yeah, that's the thing, and then you have to understand at some point that you have to touch, those deep emotional traumas, and then will kind of help you move forward, right? Which in your case was the case.
Yes, and I'm, this is again 6 years, and I'm still doing inner child work. So I mean, I'm still working on this. This is going to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. You'd think it would stop. Oh, I got this. No, you don't. And it's just like it gets into other things like the abandonment issues and comparison and jealousy, and it gets into all this stuff that's like, I'm not good enough, and you would watch like Brady Bunch and like I'm wishing my life was like Brady Bunch. Look how blonde and thin these girls were. They're perfect. This is a perfect life. Why can't I be like that? So you gotta get into that too. There's so many peeling of the onion. There's so many layers. It never ends. It's interesting. It can be tiring, but I'm also quite proud of myself. So
yeah, you should be.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if everybody that changes his lifestyle in such drastic ways should be proud of themselves, right? Like it's fucking hard. Yeah,
it is.
And especially I think everyone that just grows up with one parent already has a bunch to work with anyways, right? Like it doesn't always show in an addiction or whatever, but mostly it is something that you have to be doing all the time, right? Like, I know somebody like it's work or it's some it's food or some other drugs. Like it's difficult because you're missing that second part, right? Like it's difficult for a mother to basically live both roles. It's impossible.
It is, and you have to forgive too.
Of course, it's not her fault.
No,
it's not her. Yeah. And then that's when you're there, you're already many steps ahead. When you know, okay, she did her best, and in that sense, even though it sucked, but she did her best.
Yeah.
But it's impossible for a female to be the male and the female at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just impossible, and especially when you're so young as you were, and you're just basically growing up with a mother that's always working.
Right.
And then you're in kindergarten and then school, and there's always other people taking care of you during those major hours of the day.
Yes.
Right, and then you're being bullied. Like it's a tough one. I talked to Matt Bodrow. He's doing a program called Apogee. That they're basically building alternative schools, right? And basically US and Canada they started, and they want to do it globally. But I think that's the way to go, right? Like to have and be more close to the children, right? Like educate them as good as you can. Have professionals come in, like actual professionals, not just some so-called teacher that just wants to be there because it's like a safe pay. And right, so there's some cool stuff happening, and I think now is the time, right? Like that's also one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. It's like we have to talk about this, right? These topics, especially when you have children. It's we're only going to change something if we change something, right? Like nobody else is going to do anything.
No, we got to break these cycles, and it's interesting about me. Back in the 70s, also, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of intervention going on and things like that. However, I do remember a couple of times there was a therapist in there, and they, God bless them, they something with me. They kept bringing me in and kind of tried to, ask me some questions, but they tried, but then they let it go. They didn't, so I think now, I'm glad that now that that's evolved a lot more, interventions a lot, more, thank goodness, I think. Yeah, interesting, but we have to be cycle breakers, that is for sure, because I don't want my daughter to have to go through this, and her children and all, and she's a toddler teacher. It's just interesting how things go full circle, so.
Definitely.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's always, one has to break the cycle, otherwise it's just going to be passed on.
Right.
If it doesn't show in your children, it's going to show in your grandchildren at the latest, right?
Right.
Like I've had to deal with alcohol, basically, and lots of other, substances, like in my 20s, also from grandfather and his father. It's just prevalent, right?
Right.
And one has to break the cycle, otherwise. It's just always there. But it's just like food, right? Like it's kind of accepted, right? Like it's weird if you not drinking at a social event, right? Yeah.
It is. You're right, and that's the other thing too. I was never a big drinker, but I even noticed after I reversed it, that I was still having some issues. Like I'm still having some food addiction issues, and then I started to drink alcohol because
Sugar.
I'd only drink certain things, like the vodkas and the rums and the whiskey and all that stuff, because they had no carbs and lower calorie, and you drink it with your diet soda, so you're like, hey, there's no carbs. In fact, liquor's going to lower my blood sugar, because why? The liver takes it immediately and then starts processing it, and your blood sugar goes down. I'm like, alright. But then I noticed I got deathly ill, so sick from it. I'm like, well, I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm so glad I did, and that was another hurdle I had to get through. I'm like, don't be doing this now. Alright, you got rid of this, now you're going to start this? No. So now I drink no alcohol. I mean, I don't know, I'm as clean as you can get. It's like I drink a gallon of water a day, and I'm like, it's interesting, but yeah, alcohol, that's a sneaky one too.
Yeah, 100%. They all are interesting, all these substances and stuff. But like the water you drink, like are you aware of like tap water problems and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do use filtered water, and I do put a little sea salt in it and all that, and they test it, but yeah, I know I should probably get a reverse osmosis one. I know, but I haven't gotten there yet, so I hope maybe eventually. But yeah, I don't know what tap.
Tap water is really nasty.
I know.
All the chemicals, yeah. Especially the filters, they're not gonna filter that stuff out. Right?
Yeah.
It's full with medication and all that kind of stuff. Especially like in places like the US, it's a tough one.
Okay.
If water is like something you really focus on, then put some time and effort into it, and you'll see. You'll get to the answers fast. Like there's so much you can do.
Right.
The best thing is really not to drink the tap water, but if you have to, then really clean it up and live it again. Give it some structure and some vitamins and minerals, and then you're good to go. At least it's a good alternative, right, to what you're doing right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right. The Celtic sea salt, and I noticed that really, boy, that makes a difference. That helps a lot. It makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Detoxing. Are you detoxing regularly, like heavy metals and stuff?
No. No, I do my lemon juice and sea salt in the morning for my liver cleanse, which has been amazing. To be honest with you, I had a toe fungus, it's gone. So I mean that helped a lot. But no, I mean the cleanses, I haven't tried that yet.
to try it out, because your liver can only do so much, right? Like those heavy metals, then especially the ones that are stored in fat.
Yeah.
The liver doesn't get there.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to get them moving, and then it can be excreted and stuff. But
right.
Otherwise, yeah.
Okay.
But hey, there's plenty of stuff you can play with. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Nutrition is already on that. But how were you vaxxed a lot, like in your childhood and youth?
Was I what? I'm sorry.
Like vaccinated?
Oh yeah. Yep. I had all that. I did not get the COVID vaccine though. I don't take flu shots, but yeah, in my childhood I was. Yeah, I mean, nothing you can do about it. I regret having my children vaccinated like that. I do. I really do. What can you do? I mean, you think you're doing the right thing, and it's only, I can't beat myself over that one, because it's my knowledge in my time, I'm like, oh, I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, now, so, but I did have the wherewithal to not get the COVID. I lost a job over that. So that was...
You gained so much.
Yeah, but I gained so much, exactly.
Yeah,
so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think yesterday I was reading a thread, and it was like some moms, and they were basically posting about the children and the effects of baby vaccines and stuff, and it's crazy, right? Like, especially, I mean, there's just not one. Like in the US, like you do like a bunch of them at the same time. Right?
Yes.
Like it's a bit different than here in Europe. It's fucking crazy. That little body.
They can't handle that. No. I mean, you can't tell me that type 1 diabetes partly is due to vaccines. You can't tell me autism. You can't, if someone said, no, I'm sorry, it's the truth. Not every child, because thank God my children were okay, but there are these children who can't handle it, and that's what happens. And I also feel that, we're going to go down this road, I also feel that the COVID vaccine kind of maybe spurred on the later on in life type 1, the LADA and all that. There's been some talk on that, and I kind of believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's also what I was referring to before. That one.
Yeah.
That's what they were writing yesterday in that thread.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the thing is, I think as soon as it's not talked about, enough, like by the media and like the mainstream media or the doctors, or the so-called pharma industry, then you should basically look into it yourself, right?
Right.
So.
It is a personal thing, and I know, and I also try to help people reverse their type 2, and that is another thing too, which is interesting. It's like, boy, the fear of change is crazy. Like, just, I tell them what I've done. Oh, I want to be like you. Tell me what you did. I tell them what they did, and they get too scared. They're like, oh, no, I'm just gonna go take my metformin right now. They're just not ready. A lot of fear of change. One person said to me, type 2 isn't a lifestyle disease. Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. Well, would you like to sit in my shoes? And come on. It can be frustrating, but now I'm beginning to realize it is what it is. You do the best you can.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe someone will hear you.
And I mean, if they're ready, they will. You will see it, right? They will contact you, and they will want to work, right? If they're ready, then they're basically waiting for that event that you had, right? And then they'll wake up. Maybe not.
Maybe
right?
not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So basically, when you work with people, do you also talk about their story and their life, like before you actually do Reiki, or do you go straight for the session?
Oh, okay. So Reiki. All right. So yeah, they're two separate things. So I do that. I should have brought this up. So I also help people. I sort of like coach people to help reverse their type 2 or their prediabetes. That's one side, and then the Reiki is the other side. I've tried integrating the two, and that's a little bit too much for people to handle. They just don't get it. So the Reiki side, yeah, there's a process. What's going on, and what are your symptoms? What would you like to focus on? And then we focus on that. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me it makes sense to do both.
It does.
Right. That's why I asked that question, because step one, you understand the person and you understand the emotional trauma and whatever they went through. Right. Why are they there where they are? And then you work on them. Right. It only makes sense that way, to me at least.
It makes a lot of sense, but it isn't working out that way so far. It's like I said, it's interesting. I work for a diabetes app, iPhone app, and it's pretty cool. It's all video based. It's sort of like based like Instagram, and you can put up videos, and it's a very passive way for someone to get information, at their own terms, at their own pace. They could ask questions or whatever, and I put up Reiki sessions per video, like a virtual Reiki session on there. I put like 7 of them on. Well, you'd be surprised how many people are tune into that Reiki session for the solar plexus, for the pancreas. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. So I try, do you see the correlation here? Do you see what's going on here? And it's not quite there. But I'm going to keep working on it. It took me a while to get there, so I'm sure it'll take people time to get there.
So what's diabetes then to you? After all those years and now being in a good place with it, when someone asks you what is it?
What is it to me?
Yeah. What is diabetes to you?
Well, it's a gift. It was a gift. Because it really was the pivotal moment to get healing going in all levels. Not just get my blood sugar under control, but it was also and not to get just weight loss, but it really has been a journey to clearing out old stuff, destructive DNA in me, like old, like ancestral, like that's what I feel. Like many. It's like I said, it's ongoing, but it's a gift to me. I now know. I really am now in touch with my body. Like I really know how my body ticks. And I'm not ashamed of my body. I love my body. I want to take care of it. It's a temple. All those words. But it may sound cliche, but it is true. It's a temple. This is what I got. This is who I am. And I never had that before. Because 339 pounds is like your own little fortress. And you don't feel like you just like, don't look at me. But people come see, so they'll see you. But still, don't look at me. And all those layers of fat kept me from really looking. It's so many things. So I guess I could just say diabetes is a gift. Diabetes saved my life. I don't regret it. Because I'm here. And that added years to my life. Now I can see my children grow and do their cool things. And be with my husband some more and all that stuff. So that's what it is to me.
Yeah. It's a long journey, right?
Yes.
But yeah, that's the thing, like when I hear someone say, yeah, my grandma, she has this and that, and it's genetic, and I'm like, yeah, but what's her lifestyle?
Right.
It's I think probably more than 90% of the cases. I mean, I'm not an don't have any data on this, but just from when I see people and I know, okay, they have it, then it's always clear it's a lifestyle thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First and foremost. But I do feel that there are genetic components only because I had it in my family. I mean, I want, and I know that, I'm not the only person who had a skewed vision of food. My brother did. I'll talk about my brother real quick. So he's 10 years older than me. He died in a car accident when he was 33. He had bought a brand new Corvette and he was driving 140 miles an hour on a highway. You can't tell me that wasn't purposeful. But I'll never know. He struggled with body dysmorphic disorder. They say it's rare or not as common in men than it is in women, but I don't believe it. And how I really knew was when we went into his house to clean it up, and he had pants in his closet anywhere from a size 32 waist to a 42 waist. So he would just yo-yo. And I remember he was on steroids, and he was a bodybuilder, and it was all about the image. And he would get huge, and then he would get skinny, and he would just keep going. He struggled.
What's that dysmorphic disorder? Like, if you would explain it.
Body dysmorphic disorder, where you just you can't see. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you see something different. It's like anorexia, same thing. It's like you have this skewed vision of how your image, how you look. So someone with anorexia may look in the mirror and think she weighs 200 pounds, but that's not really true. It's a lot. It goes along with eating disorders. I am not I don't know much about it at all, but I do know that they say it's not as common with men, but my brother had it, and it's, very, very apparent. And, my sister dealt with some stuff too, and laxatives, So it's in the family too.
If you have a mother that's like liking you more when you're thin.
Right. When you dread going to the house, like on a holiday, because she's going to look you up and down and say, all right, is she worthy of coming in through the store? Let's see. And then if not, you hear it. It just was very uncomfortable. But you're right. And it wasn't just me she did it to. Me the most, which,
Yes, and especially when you're little, like you said before, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just comments here and there, just saying something to them. They basically like a sponge, right? They hear everything, they see everything, they magnify everything. So if you just say that to them, that it will be stored in there. Right?
It's an imprint. It's stored. Yeah, and your body remembers. So,
and the soul.
And the soul remembers. Oh, for sure. Yeah, very true.
So he jumped in that Corvette, and then because 140 miles is not that fast, but do you think like the accident was weird?
Yeah, I do, because there's just there was no reason for him to be going that fast, 9 o'clock at night. Totally, it wasn't like he was like being late for something, it just, and he totally just missed the cutoff to go off, the exit, missed the exit, and just hit a tree, just flew in the air, hit a tree. Come on.
That's a weird one. Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it's weird. But of course, I always thought that, never said anything. My mother was like, she's conspiracy. Someone messed with his brakes. No, your brakes don't really work at 140 miles an hour, but okay, So she thought someone murdered him, and no. I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, I'll never know, but that's my thought.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you're basically doing God's work now, helping people, being of service, which is good.
Yeah.
You feel good.
It makes me feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. And you keep working on yourself, right? With each session, you work on yourself.
Yes, and that's the wonderful thing about Reiki, Boy, is that when you give it to someone, you get it too, because you're a channeler. So every time you heal something, you start the healing process, you're getting some more, and every night after a Reiki session, I sleep amazingly. It's been God. That's God given too. That was just like a total gift. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, being a channel is not for everyone either, right? Like it's not like everyone can just flip that switch and channel and open up and be that clean,
Yeah, there is a process to keeping clean everything, and the other thing I'm noticing too lately. So I tend to notice patterns in things, and the latest pattern is people who are already attuned to Reiki are coming to me, and I keep thinking, why are you doing that? You have the tools in your own hands. You have the capability to heal yourself. You don't need me. But it seems to me, and I ask them, do you self Reiki every day? I'm all excited. Oh, that's awesome. Do you self? No, I don't have the time. No, I don't know how. Well, then why did you get attuned in the first place? Did you think it was just fun or cute? Like, what was your reasoning? There had to be some reason. So I'm kind of thinking that I'm supposed to kickstart these women to start their own healing journey. It's kind of like how I'm looking at it. Like, okay, they're coming to me, kickstart them, get them to a baseline, and go, okay, now start your healing process yourself. I'm hoping this, because I truly feel that there should be a Reiki practitioner in every household. I really, and I know it's getting there. I know it's expanding, but I hope people get attuned for the right reasons. Not just to say, hey, not for the ego, because it's not going to work. I hope that people will take it as a gift and use it. It's there for you. It's there for you, but it's got to be for the right reason. So it's interesting. It really is.
Yeah, but there you go. Then you don't have to ask them why they haven't tried it yet. They just need you to, push them a little bit.
I'm trying to I'm trying to be like, oh really? Oh, you get the power of Reiki in your own hands. And then after the session, I'm just like, okay, you're nice and clear. You have a clear baseline now. Go. I'll check in on you in a couple of days. Now you start self Reiki every day. Like I do that. Who knows if they do or not? But
I mean, it's also good for you, if they keep coming back. Just let them come back, right?
Yeah. I used to also be the person that would be like, oh, why didn't they come back? Oh, and try the sales pitch. And I'm coming to realize even more now that if I'm there and I give them what they need to start on their own, then that makes me happy too. If you want to come back and see me, great, I'm here. But I'm not a high sales pitch person. There have been people that have come back regularly, but mainly it's a one and done. Because they feel good. And then they just go on. So it's like, okay, well, I helped them get so far. Well, maybe they'll call me again. I don't know. I don't know. I try the email blasts and the things on the. It's just too much for me.
Yeah, I don't even think that kind of stuff should be forced, because like you need both parties to be into it, right? Like if someone doesn't want to do it 100%, right, it's not going to work. Nothing's going to work, right? Like it's even just a simple therapy session, right? Like with like a semi-professional is not going to work, right? Like because you talk about stuff and then you're not, basically 100% involved. It's not gonna.
Right.
It's not gonna work.
You're right, and it's like if someone comes in for Reiki and their boundaries are up, and they're like, I'm gonna do this. I'm curious, but I don't really want. If their body's like their higher self is like, you're not ready yet. Reiki can only go so far, so it won't go where if there's a boundary, it's not gonna go.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to be open, and if you're not open, I'm not gonna force you. You're right. If you force them, it's not gonna work. It'll just go so far.
Yeah, so technically your glucose and insulin and all the indicators, they're completely fine. Are you checking on a daily basis? So like what's your situation in terms of that?
I only check my blood sugar. Only things like if I'm sick, which I'm not normally anymore sick, I'll check it. If I feel like, it's all kind of intuitive now, because I'm so in tune with my body now. If it feels like it's time to check, I'll start checking it again for a couple of weeks straight. How am I doing? Okay. Yeah, everything looks good. Then I put it aside. That's kind of like that. So it's not an everyday thing. My A1C is still fine. Yeah, it's more like, I feel like I gotta check this. It's like that. But I walk 4 miles every single day without fail. I eat like around 40 grams of carbs a day. I eat really clean. I know that my body's okay. So that's me. But you really got to know your body first before you can do something like that. I mean, I'm not telling you that that's what every diabetic should do. They should really every single day get check for patterns and log it down. That's what I did. So
yeah, but it's good to know that, right? Like that it's possible to get where you are.
Yes.
Even when doctors told you it's not possible.
Yes. Yes. I was lucky. My doctor said it was possible. And then when he left,
most people don't.
But they don't. You're right. Yeah. And then he left the practice and he went somewhere else. And then I had gotten a new doctor, and I was very lucky that he was just as supportive. And then he said to me, in my 15 years of practice, I've only seen one other person do this. He goes, "You are incredible." And again, intelligent doctor, but no ego. He didn't say, "Well, you should do this," like he really was supportive. Boy, I was lucky. I'm very lucky that I had 2 doctors that were very supportive. I know that that's not the norm.
Yeah, but you probably also attracted it. Right? So.
Maybe that's.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Maybe I did.
Of course.
Yeah, that's
That
true.
doesn't just happen like that,
Yeah, you're right. Never thought of that.
There was time.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So where can people find you when they want to work with you or when they want to get in contact with you or anything like that?
Also, for Instagram, it's Remote Reiki with Donna Cross. That's my handle. And then,
Link it as well.
yeah, and then all the links are there. So you can, I have a link tree, I have all that stuff that you can book a Reiki session. You can go onto Honey Health. You can go to the App Store and download the app. It's free. It's a free app. Honey Health. And and then I work at a company, it's like a little spa called the Iron Cactus, that I do in-person Reiki sessions Wednesday through Fridays, but I'm also available for remote. I can come to you, it doesn't matter, but all my contact info is on that Instagram, so probably the easiest way to get me.
That's great. Perfect. Thanks for your time, Donna.